our lesson internalization meeting. Think about the assessments that we're going to create aligned to our discussions today, because we're going to make sure that our activities that we choose meet the needs of that assessment. So in your head, while we're discussing, just have the thought about how we're going to choose our assessment to align to our lessons that we're planning for today. So let's start with our no-show chart and the most rigorous task of this lesson. Take 1 minute to note any similarities and differences between your most rigorous lesson that you're going to teach aligned to the standard. What, if anything, can we adjust to make it more precise? So if there's anything we need to adjust to make it more precise when we think about the most rigorous part? No, nothing?
No.
All right. So what I was thinking as I was thinking about the most rigorous part of NF2B, it says that the fraction is a non-unit fraction. That means that the numerator can be different, not just one. 1 7, 1 7, 1 7. That's 3 7. So it can be non-unit. And I was also thinking about the standard that's leading into, which is equivalent. So the only thing that I was thinking about adding was, if students knew an understanding of the partitioning of circles, rectangles, and shapes, and how that can be related to a number line. For example, if I took a square, I have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Where is that on a number line? In the same place. So if they knew how to make that conceptual understanding connect to a number line, it'll give us some leeway as we move into our next standard. So, Miss Ingram, can you add on to our no chart an understanding of fractions as partitions? That's where we came from, right? In the beginning. As partitions of circles, rectangles, and other shapes. And understand the fractions as partitions and circles, yeah, and rectangles and other shapes. And
As
relate
partitions of
yep. Just say shape.
of shapes.
Yep. And relate to the number line. Thank you. So do y'all agree with that sort of kind of?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of thinking about planning for too. So if students do everything on our no-show chart, will they get it right?
They should.
They should.
They should.
Yep, they should.
So if students get it right and you ask them why, what do we want them to say?
Wait. Why? Clarify. Sorry.
If students get a question right as aligned to our no-show chart, so they did everything we want them to show. If we ask them why they put numbers on them, like why is it correct? What do we want them to say?
Something about being able to represent fractions on a number line or a partition or with shape.
Right, right. Connect their understanding of the partitioning shapes to
With the number line.
the number line, how those are created. So what are students most likely to struggle with when we think about all the things we've listed as a line to support our standard with our know and show?
On the due.
Right. What do we think they're going to struggle with? It could be the know or the show.
That each interval is a unit fraction.
The
So even though, okay, so we start at 1 tick mark, 2 tick marks, the distance between the first tick mark and the second tick mark is still 1/7, let's say, for instance, like to use your example from before.
and then also to do what with part B? Cause you
To
said unit
represent
fraction,
the non-unit
non-unit.
fraction.
non-unit. So once they look at that first section is 1/7 or 1/8, the next section would be what? 2/8 or 2/7. So the key step that we're wanting them to, hoping our students arrive at is what?
So understand fractions on the number line and to be able to partition the number line using unit fractions and non-unit fractions.
Unit fractions and non-unit fractions, alright? And then once they have that understanding, we can take it a little bit further and connect it to equivalent fractions on that same number line. So now we've unpacked the student struggle, we thought about what they would struggle with. Let's apply it to our execution. So today, we're gonna plan for a lesson that's gonna support our NF2B standard. That's our highest leverage that we just discussed. So I'll model and ask you to be a student. And as you watch as I model, I'm gonna model the IG for you all, okay? As I model, I want you to think about the questions that I'm asking and how I'm making connections to their understanding of partitioning shapes and how it's related to the number line. Alright? So, yeah, I'm probably just gonna hold it.
Okay.
So we can- Good morning, boys and girls.
Good morning.
Today we're going to look at, I know this word says equivalence, okay? That's the standard that we're moving towards. But today we're gonna focus on how we can connect our visual models of a fraction to the number line. So if you look here, this is a model that represents 2/4. How did I get that? That's 1/4, that's 1/4. So together, that is 2/4. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, that gives me 3/4. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. 1 is called a unit fraction. But I also need to think of 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4 as 3/4, which is a non-unit fraction. Non-unit means that the numerator is not 1. So if I have 1/4 as this model, I can connect it to a number line. So I draw a number line. I know that 1/4 is between 0 and 1 because it's less than 1 whole. 3 will represent less than a whole. The whole would be all 4 shaded. So from 0 to 1/3, that represents 1/3 section, our partition. This is called distance. So this distance is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, which gives me 3/3, right? Which is 1 whole. So if I drew a number line with 4s, what would I have on that number line? I'll draw me a number line, I'll put 0 and 1, and I would partition it into 4s. So 1 distance from 0 to 1/4 would be 1/4. So I can connect my models to a number line to represent distance between, and my numerator may not always be 1. about the model, and what did y'all see me do that you may want to add on when you're doing this lesson with your class?
I like the connecting the model with the number line, so they can see both, because they'll have both whenever they see them, so it's connecting both of those together.
Good. Connecting the model with the number line. So,
Because they have to do that as well, they have these fraction strips and the parts to make
good.
it.
I like the way you connected back to our no-show chart. So we want them to show that, we have to give them those experiences. Thank you. So now I want you to take a few minutes. I know you have your Unit 5 no-show chart document open. I want you to think about your lesson now, your first lesson with the standard. So I want you to take a minute to think about the precise teacher action steps that you would like to model with your class. And I want you to go to the bottom, and I want you to write down, script out just a little 5-minute lesson, preferably I do, for the hardest part of this lesson. Also consider the laps that you will aggressively monitor to ensure student understanding. So you're gonna go in your Unit 5 document, go down to the bottom, and do a small script of your lesson as aligned to our standard. Any questions about that? All right, so let's begin.
Oh, it's behind, right here, behind that shelf. You see it, behind the rocking chair.